Hello, welcome to another episode of our live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. I don't know if you guys were watching Christian Prince. We were too, and that was awesome to see him with Brother Kelly. Continuing a series that I'm doing about the Christian influences in the life of Mohammed. And there was lots of Christian influences, lots of different believers who were around him, and so he heard a lot of different things. That's why you find it in the Quran. That's why the Quran is so full of biblical stories, New Testament stories. The reason is because those stories, the Christians were around him. And so we're just talking. Yesterday, we talked about my favorite Christian in his. I don't know if I should say favorite, because he what he did was very evil. He even admitted what he did was evil. That was Buhaira the monk, who I think is the father of Muhammad. But we're going to talk about someone else today. And this other person that we're talking about today, some people think he was the real father of Muhammad. And this guy's name is Waraqa Bin Nawfal. And Waraqa Bin Nawfal was the cousin of Khadija. And actually, Muhammad's first wife, Khadija. And he was her first cousin. In fact, he was her first cousin. But they were actually scheduled to get married. They were engaged. Waraqa bin Nawfal and Khadija were engaged to get married, but they did not get married. And another thing is, they are also cousins of Muhammad. They're like third cousins or fourth cousins of Muhammad. And we're going to show you some of this about how they were all related. But it's so interesting. It's so interesting that one of the most influential, quote unquote, Christians, he wasn't all in all Christian, but he had the Gospel of Matthew, tried to translate the Gospel of Matthew into Arabic from the Hebrew. And so he interesting fella. And he was one of Muhammad's first inspirations. He was like the one that, when that wicked spirit came to Muhammad the first time, and Muhammad didn't know what was going on, they went to Waraqa bin Nawfal. Okay, he was renowned as a priest, quote unquote priest. So welcome, Michelle. God bless you. Vigo Bond, up in 10 minutes from now. Okay. Oh, really? I got Najrani Christians also? Shoot. No, that's going to be another day. The Najrani Christians, those are my heroes. I love the Najrani Christians. The Najrani Christians are like they're the Christian Prince and Father Zechariah of their time. They were awesome. And I'm sure they had some stuff that we don't agree with, probably like Orthodox and stuff like that. But they had the essential Christian doctrines down. They had the essential Christian doctrines down. It was really amazing. So I really love the Najrani Christians. In fact, my family never required me to change my last name. Of course, you can't really do that, but sometimes, like when you come from a Muslim background, your family says, we don't want nothing to do with you. Change your name. Okay. We don't want your name. And my family didn't do that. But if they did tell me to change my name, and I did, and I wanted to change my last name to Najran because of the Najrani Christians, because I love those guys. I love the way they stood up to Muhammad. I love the way they witnessed Muhammad. So anyway, we'll be talking about them in a few days. Okay, but today we're going to talk about Waraqa bin Nawfal. And so just give me let me just give me just 1 second here to download some of the some of the some of the articles I have about him. Like I said, he's yeah. In fact, I think it's probably just easier just to go ahead and go there and read it rather than downloading it and everything like that, because we could. It's not that hard to just go read it. So, all right, let's see about Waraqa Bin Nawfal. And like I said, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people, and I believe Adam Seeker is one of them, who think Waraqa bin Nawfal is Muhammad's real father. Now, in fact, we actually were gonna do a debate, Adam Seeker and me, about whether Waraqa bin Nawfal is the father or Buhaira the monk is the father. And I kind of shared with you last night, if you were here, about why I think Buhaira the monk is the father. And I think there's more evidence for that, but Adam Seeker is very smart and he's got lots of sources. So it might be, we might just end up doing that. Will the real father of Muhammad please stand up? You know, the traditional father of Muhammad is Abdullah, And but the problem with that is that Abdullah died 4 years before Muhammad was born. And so, you know, either it was a miracle, like a lot of Muslims say it was a miracle that his mother was pregnant for 4 years. Aminah was pregnant for 4 years with Muhammad, or somebody else is the daddy. And so, you know, because of my experience with Father Zechariah and because of his books, and I've been influenced by him and his research on this, I'm leaning towards Buhaira the monk being Muhammad's real father. But Adam Seeker and a lot of other people think it's Waraqa bin Nawfal, who we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, now this is interesting, you guys. His name is Waraqa bin Ibn Nawfal. Now, Nawfal, Ibn means son of. So it's son of Nawfal. And Nawfal, okay, if you look at the next line there, and you can see that, Ibn Abd al-Uzza. Ibn Abd al-Uzza. That means son of the servant or worshiper of Uzza. Remember who Uzza is? Uzza is one of the 3 so-called daughters of Allah. Remember with the satanic verses situation when Muhammad worshipped the 3 goddesses of the daughters of Allah, Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, Al-Manat. Well, Muhammad, now these are Muhammad's relatives. These are also Muhammad's relatives, okay, because they were all cousins. And so Waraqa bin Nawfal was a descendant. His grandfather or great-grandfather was a worshiper of Al-Uzza. So very specifically, of the 3 daughters of Allah, it shows you that this thing is, and then Ibn Qusay al-Qurayshi. And Quraysh, you guys know Quraysh, that's the tribe that Muhammad is from, Quraysh. Okay, the Qurayshi, the Quran supposedly came down in the Qurayshi language originally, or Qurayshi dialect. Okay, so you got a lot of clues about who Muhammad is and who this family here from just that name. Now, usually the way it works in Arabic, and you know, like I know, for instance, my name is Hussein. My father's name is Musa. My grandfather's name is Hussein. And then my great-grandfather's name was, I believe it was Abdullah. And so if you just go, when you're saying somebody's name, when it's got several different names, it is the name of the father grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather. So it's just going back. Kind of like what you see in Matthew, where it says this is the son of this, the son of Adam, the son of Abraham. And but it's going backwards. So and it's still that way in Arabic. In Egypt, for instance, they don't really use last names. In Egypt, they go for names. It's called the quadruplet or something like that. Quadruplet, which is you use your name, your father's name, your grandfather's name, and your great-grandfather's name. That's your name on your passport or on your identification. Okay. So anyway, we see this here with Waraqa Bin Nawfal. Okay. And now I'm kind of curious, you guys, because I have that I have that I just want to get the right name here. Okay, it's Waraqa bin Nawfal ibn As'ad. As'ad, you guys know As'ad is like Bashar al-Assad. Ibn Abd al-Uzza ibn Qusay al-Qurayshi. Okay, so you learn quite a bit about the family of Muhammad there and the lineage, and not just Muhammad, but also his wife Khadija, his first wife, and possibly his father. If you ask Adam Seeker, I don't know if Adam Seeker still holds that view. I know he's not the only one, but I know he did at one time believe that Waraqa bin Nawfal was Muhammad's real father. Okay, but anyway, let's just read this. Waraqa bin Nawfal ibn Abd al-Uzza. Dude, I can't emphasize this enough. This family was worshiping one of the daughters of Allah. I mean, their name, the same way somebody's name is Abdullah, like his father's name was supposedly Abdullah, that means the slave of Allah. Well, his great-grandfather's name is Abd al-Uzza, slave of al-Uzza, or servant of al-Uzza, or worshiper of al-Uzza. Because you see, the word Abd means different things in Arabic. It could mean slave. It is used of slave. It could mean worshiper, because abada means worship. Abd means a worshiper. Abada. Okay. So it could mean worship, could mean service or slavery. Okay. So when you say Abd al-Uzza, it could be any of those. But just the fact that they are connected to this daughter of Allah that Muhammad would later worship with the satanic verses situation. And you guys, let me just tell you one other thing about Al-Uzza. There's a lot of people, you know what, it's probably not good to say there's a lot of people. I should get more more specific documentation about this, but let me just tell you what it is, that Al-Uzza is the same as Venus, the goddess of the Romans. Venus was the major goddess of the Romans, and she was like one of the daughters of Jupiter, the daughter of Zeus in the Roman mythology. But if you go back to the Greek mythology, which is the original mythology, the Greek came before the Roman. The Romans just took the Greek pantheon of gods and changed their names into Roman names. But the original Greek pantheon, Zeus was the name of the big god, the daddy god. And then his daughter's name was Aphrodite. Aphrodite is Venus. And Venus is Al-Uzza, which shows you that this pantheon of gods was the same in Arabia as well. And I bet you, I'm going to have to do the research now, that Al-Uzza, Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, Al-Manat, also correspond to Greek gods, that these are just a continuation of Greek mythology. And you guys, who else are they connected to? Al-Uzza is also connected to Ashtaroth, because that was the goddess Astarte, of the Babylonians. This is all connected. And all of these religions, you guys, came from Babylon. All of these false religions started in Babylon, Mystery Babylon. And so you got all of these, and then you see in Muhammad's family line, in the family line of Waraqa Bin Nawfal here. And this is Muhammad's, because I've seen it before, that Muhammad, one of his great-grandparents, was Abd al-Uzza, slave of al-Uzza. Yeah, that's kind of just a very interesting fact about Arabia back then. So, okay. So Waraqa bin Nawfal, okay, and Waraqa, by the way, you guys, $5. Let me see. I ought to make this a competition, okay? Let me see if anybody can go to the, oops, I can't, I don't know if I'm, okay. Can anybody tell me what the word Waraqa means in Arabic? Does anybody know? Houston Euler is pointing out something that abd is used as a word for black people. Yes, because they said that the blacks were slaves, call them abid. But to this day, they call black people abid, which means slaves, which is Islam. So does anybody know what Waraqa means? Because it's still a word that's used very commonly in Arabic. Who knows what it means, Waraqa? Anybody know? $5, you guys. Got a chance. No, it's not knowledgeable. It's something a little bit simpler than that. My wife cheated. She said leaf. Actually, it is leaf, but it's also paper. Paper and leaf. Like from the trees, the tree leaf. It means like like a tree leaf, Waraqa shajar, the leaf of the tree. Is that the same in Persian?
No.
Oh, it's not.
No, Waraqa means page.
Page, yeah. Waraqa means page, right? Yeah. And
yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Yes. It may mean learned too. I've never heard it used that way, Vigo Bond, but it is possible that it means that as well. So anyway, yeah, so let's, okay. He was a Christian Arabian ascetic meaning like a monk, kind of, who was the paternal first cousin of Khadija bint Khuwaylid. Khadija is the first wife of Muhammad. He was considered to be a Hanif. Okay, Hanif, you guys, is, it's a kind of, you know what? I should just get it for you from Abraham is considered a Hanif. Okay, but I know if you watch Christian Prince, he said that Hanif, it actually means something bad. But here's Hanif. In Islam, the terms Hanif, regarded in a favorable light for shunning Arabian polytheism and solely worshiping the God of Abraham. So it's connected to Abraham, thus setting themselves apart from what is known as Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah is the time of ignorance, or Jahala means literally ignorant. Jahil is somebody who's ignorant. And so somebody who was Arabian before the time of Islam, who did not worship many gods, pagans, who are not pagans or Johal, they were called Hanif. Okay, like Abraham. Abraham is called Hanif as well. So anyway, Waraqa bin Nawfal was a Hanif. Okay, he was who practiced the pure form of monotheism in pre-Islamic Arabia. Waraqa died shortly after Muhammad is said to have received his first revelation in 610 CE. So 610 CE would have been it would have been it would have been about because Muhammad died 632. Okay, so Muhammad lived 22 years after Waraqa died. Okay. So, okay, let's look at some more here. Boy, but there was a lot of information there about. Okay, what happened is with Waraqa bin Nawfal, there was when Muhammad got his first encounter with the devil, and he thought it was a devil. Okay. Muhammad thought it was a devil when he thought it was a jinn, and he was really scared, and that's when he ran home to Khadija. What Khadija did is she took him to Waraqa bin Nawfal, her cousin. He was some kind of the religion that he ascribed to was called Ebionite. Okay, he was called an Ebionite. Like Buhaira was more Nestorian, but Waraqa bin Nawfal was an Ebionite, as was Khadija. Khadija was also an Ebionite. Okay, which is kind of some kind of cult. Like I think you probably consider them something like maybe a Jehovah's Witness or something. A little bit with quote unquote. They consider themselves like Christians, but they use the Bible and they believe in the Bible, but they are heretics. So that's Ebionites have some beliefs like that, and a lot of the Ebionite beliefs is what's in the Quran. Okay, so let's read this. It says, Aisha said, the Prophet returned to Khadija while his heart was beating rapidly. Okay, so he was scared of that thing that came and squeezed him. Remember that thing that squeezed him, that came to him in the cave and squeezed him and said, Ikra, and said, read. He did not say recite, he said, read. Okay, and you guys, that is the weirdest thing. How could he read when he was illiterate? Didn't the Jibreel know that he was illiterate? Didn't Allah know that he was illiterate? He tells him 3 times to read, but he did not make him able to read. He told him to read, but he did not give him the ability to read. He told him read 3 times. He told him to do something that he can't do. 3 times he told him to do something that he can't do. He said, read. And he couldn't read. He was illiterate. Allah knew that, right? And, if you're going to do that, well, give him the ability to read. Make him able to read. Allah's able to do that. Give him the ability to understand languages. Give him the ability to understand letters. Okay, but he didn't. He just kept saying read when he doesn't know how to read. And then, not only does he not give him the ability to read, and I just want to compare this to and forgive me, or contrast this with Jesus. You got to be careful how you say it. I don't want to compare it with Jesus. I want to contrast it with Jesus. Remember when Jesus came to the man by the pool of Bethesda, and he asked him, he said, do you want to be made whole? And the man said, oh, I've got nobody to put me in the water, and every time I want to go in, somebody steps in front of me, and da-da-da, Jesus said to him, get up, take your bed and walk. There's something, he couldn't do that. Same way Muhammad couldn't read, this man couldn't take up his bed. He was crippled. Muhammad couldn't read. 3 times this thing told him, read, read, read. And he couldn't read, and he was not given the ability to read. According to Islam, he remained illiterate for the rest of his life. He died illiterate, supposedly. Okay, he was a Nabi al-Ummi, in Arabic, Ummi. Ummi doesn't really mean illiterate, but they started using it that way. It means something else. It means Gentile. But regardless, in Islam, it's considered Ummi means illiterate. He was supposedly illiterate for the rest of his life, which is like a point of pride that, look, an illiterate prophet brought us this beautiful book, you know. But the thing is that thing kept telling him, read, read, read. But he couldn't read. He still couldn't read. He died illiterate, supposedly. Okay. But Jesus said to the man in the pool of Bethesda, he said, get up, take up your bed and walk. That man also was incapable of doing what Jesus said. But Jesus said, get up, take up your bed and walk. And that man got up. He was healed. So Jesus gave him the ability to do what he told him to do. Jesus gave him the ability to do what he told him to do. Just so you contrast, you know, look at the power of Jesus's words. When he tells you to do something, he gives you the ability to do it. But this thing that came to Muhammad said, read, read, read. And Muhammad said, well, I can't read, man. And so anyway, he told him, you know, this is another issue. You know, I'm raising a lot of issues here. What did that thing tell Muhammad? He says, it's let me just tell it to you. It's Surah 96, verse 1. Okay. Surah 96, verse 1. He said, read in the name of your Lord. You guys, shoot. You know what, you guys? I found another issue here. This is going to be definitely worth another live stream. Remember the other day I told you one of my problems with the Fatiha? One of the problems with the Fatiha, which is the first surah in the Quran, is that it misspells the word bism, in the name. Okay, let me just show it to you. And I'm going on all these rabbit trails tonight, you guys. Going on all these rabbit trails. Let me just show you the okay. Now, if you don't know Arabic, this is going to be hard, but look at even here. Look at how it says in the name. It says Bismillah, you know. It doesn't, it's not the right, that's not grammatically correct. Okay, it's not grammatically correct. It is an error grammatically to say it that way. I know it's poetic, I know it's all this stuff, but grammatically it's a mistake. If a kid was to write it on his test in kindergarten that way, he'd get an F. But what's so funny is that in the first verse, they have it the right way. Ikra bi ism. They have it the right way in the first verse there. Bi ism. Read in the name of Rabbak alladhi khalaq. Okay? Read. So that's kind of funny. Okay, so they do have it the right way, but on every single surah except surah number 9, they have it the wrong way. Bismillah. You know, that's the wrong way to say in the name of Allah. This is the right way right here. and they have it the right way. But in every surah of the Quran, there's 113 mistakes in the Quran in this word right here, because it's in the front of every single surah. Okay. But anyway, here they spell it correctly. Bi-ism rabbak. It says, read in the name of your Lord who created il-ants min alaq, who created humans from a clinging clot. And another issue here, this is the first word Muhammad got from that thing that came to him. And I'm not calling it Jibreel, you guys. I don't want to call it Jibreel because that's a name for Gabriel. Okay. But that thing that came to him, this is the first verse that thing gave to him. If it's the first verse, why is it not the first verse in the Quran? If this is the first verse that Muhammad got, why is it not the first verse in the Quran? It's in Surah 96, almost towards the end. There's only 15 more surahs. How come this isn't the first surah? This is the first thing that came to Muhammad, supposedly, and yet it's way at the end. It makes me think that maybe they corrupted the words from their places. They moved the words from their places, which is something they accuse the Christians of. What does the verse say? بِحَرَّفِ الْكَلَامِ عَنْ مَوْضِعِهَا. They corrupt the words from their places. They manipulate the words from their place. Well, this is in Surah 96. This is the first thing that came to mind. Why is that not Surah 1? Why is that not the first surah in the Quran? This is the first thing Muhammad got from that thing. So anyway, just a little rabbit trail there. But anyway, let's see. Hey, Emmanuel, God bless you, brother. Maybe related to the reason that the final verse was, yes. Houston Euler, he's saying that the last verse in the Quran is 55 or 5:3, but obviously the last verse in the Quran is 114 verse 6, but things are removed from their places. And you know what? I wouldn't make a big deal of it. I don't care. I honestly don't care. The only thing is they accuse Christians of doing that. And there's a verse in the Quran. They move the verses from their places. يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلَامِ عَنْ مَوْضِعِهَا. They change the words from their places. Well, this is all changed from their places, so pitfall. And because of their breaking their covenant, we have cursed them and made their hearts hard. They changed the words from their thank you. That's the English translation right there. They change the words from their context. Okay, they accuse us of that, and yet look at the Quran. Look at the Quran. This should be the first verse in the Quran, but it's not. Why isn't it? Okay, here's a Sahih International. They distort the words from their proper usages. Yeah. Yeah. So it just shows you that, they put that on us. They blame us. And the Quran even says it. The Quran says that we do that. And yet they do that. They change the words from their places. So thank you, Truth Defender, for showing that to us. So anyway, this is the first verse that Muhammad got in the cave. Okay. And I'm so glad I looked at it, because that thing about in the name, the Quran has it the right way. But it misspells it. 113 times it is misspelled in the Quran. 113 times it's misspelled in the Quran. If there's a Muslim here who would like to come and explain this to us, you could say, oh, it's just poetry. It's like, okay, fine, but it's misspelled poetry. Even when it's poetry, you got to spell it right, okay? But it's misspelled 113 times in the Quran. So, and they have the right way. They spell it the right way. In that verse, they spelled it the right way. So anyway, if you don't know Arabic, it's like, oh, it doesn't make sense. But I think it does. I think it's easy to understand, that it. So let's go back here. It says, Aisha said, the Prophet returned to Khadijah while his heart was beating rapidly. She took him to Waraqa Bin Nawfal, who was a Christian convert who used to read the gospel in Arabic. So this is Aisha speaking, okay? He used to read he was a Christian convert. Convert from what? Possibly from the worship pagan of the Al-Uzza, worship of the goddess, the daughters of Allah. I don't know. Okay. She took him to Waraqa bin Nawfal, who was a Christian convert and used to read the gospel in Arabic. Okay. Now he did. He used to translate. Waraqa asked Muhammad, what do you see? And when he told him, Waraqa said, that is the same angel whom Allah sent to the prophet Moses. Should I live till you receive the divine message, I will support you strongly. Well, you guys, I don't know. Waraqa bin Nawfal had access to the Torah. He had access to the gospel. Does anybody know a time when Moses was visited by Gabriel? Okay, because the belief among Muslims is that what came to Muhammad was supposedly Gabriel, Jibreel. Well, and then Waraqa bin Nawfal tells Muhammad, hey, that thing that came to you is Gabriel, the same thing that came to Moses. Okay, well, Gabriel is only mentioned 3 times in the Bible. One time he came to Daniel, or I'm not sure if it's 3 times. It may be more than 3 times because I think he came to Daniel more than once. Okay, but he's called Gabriel in the book of Daniel. Okay, that's the first time we see him. We don't see, and Daniel was like 1,000 years after Moses. Daniel was like 1,000 years after Moses. Okay, so the first time we see Gabriel is in the book of Daniel, when he comes to Daniel. And then he came to Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, and then he came to Mary. Okay, so those are the 3 times we see Gabriel, the prophet. It's like there's supposedly 3 archangels, Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. Lucifer fell. One was the worshiper, one was the prophet, that's Gabriel, and one is the warrior, that's Michael. Okay, but there's no record in the Bible of Gabriel coming to Moses. But this is where, you guys, if I could just kind of go off script a little bit here. I mean, not that I have a script, but I just want to tell you something that this is related to Khadijah as well. We'll talk about her next week. But Khadijah, there's actually a book called About Muhammad. It was written by a graduate of Al-Azhar University. It's called Al-Asad fil Ghaba, which means the lion in the jungle. Okay, and it's about the faithful and true ones, supposedly about Muhammad. And one thing he says in there is that Khadijah was trying to shape and mold Muhammad. She wanted to shape and mold Muhammad to make him into a king, to unite all the tribes of Arabia, to try all the different tribes of Arabia. She wanted to unite them under one king. Okay, she was very powerful. She was like the richest person in Quraysh, in Arabia. She was very prosperous, okay? And which is something about Islam. They always use her as an example of how Islam supports women's rights. Well, she was very powerful before Islam. After Islam, you didn't have any more Khadijas. Just kidding. This was pre-Islam. Pre-Islam, they had women's rights. Pre-Islam, they had women's rights. post-Islam, they have to become tense and cover everything, and because of the men's eyes and lusts. So, yes, she was domineering. She was his boss. She's the one who paid him. So he worked for her. That's why when he was married to her, he didn't marry any other women. He did not marry any other women when he was married to Khadija. But he did plan for a marriage. He did plan for a marriage while she was alive. And that was the marriage to the wife of his son, Bint Jahsh, Zainab Bint Jahsh. The way he did that is that he adopted Zayd and told Zayd, and he married Zainab to Zayd. And he told Zayd, you hold on to her, okay? This is while he's still married to Khadija, okay? You hold on to her for me, okay? And but what he was just kind of holding her, keeping her, reserving her until Muhammad could have her. So he was planning for when she died, because he had his eye on his cousin Zainab bint Jahsh. But but she was very powerful, and he worked for her. He wouldn't dare offend her and marry somebody else while she was alive. But after she died, then he started marrying all the other women. So while she was alive, it was like you kind of say, Muhammad, this is also the period that he was in Mecca. While she was alive, this was the period in Mecca. And it was during this time that, there's the Mecca verses of the Quran, which are kind of peaceful coexistence, CNN, Harvard University, coexistence, man, that bumper sticker, coexist. It was kind of like that. But it changed when he moved to Medina. And by then Khadija was dead. So, but anyway, getting back, boy, did I go off track. Let's go back to Waraqa bin Nawfal, okay? So, anyway, the angel, Muhammad, he knew it was Satan that came to him. Muhammad knew it was Satan that came to him. He called it a jinn. Lamessani jinn. That's what he said in Arabic. Lamessani jinn. I was touched by a demon, a jinn, these evil spirits, genies. And so he knew what it was. But you guys will talk when we talk about Khadija, how he was convinced that it wasn't a genie. But he knew what it was. Okay. All right. Okay, but I was trying to tell you something. The thing that I was trying to tell you is that Khadija wanted a king. She wanted a king. She wanted Muhammad to be that king. And they asked the Jews, because she had a lot of interaction with the Jews. It says, we want to have a king, of Arabia here. What do you think? What's the best way to do that? And supposedly the Jews said to her, do what David did. David became a king. But before he was a king, he was a prophet. So get the people to recognize Muhammad as a prophet and then make him the king. Okay. So they started working on making him into a prophet. Well, to make him into a prophet, she wanted to have some kind of, needed a religion, right? Needed some kind of supernatural visitation. And so, you guys, what happened is that Muhammad started going up to the cave. He started going up to that cave. It's called Hira. He started going up to that cave and hanging out there by himself in the cave. And you know what? Khadija would go with him. She would go with him and she would stand nearby as if she knew something was going to come to him. As if there was some kind of witchcraft at work or something. And that's why when this finally happened, she said, oh, good, it happened. Yahoo, That's very awesome. Because she wanted to get him on the path to becoming a prophet, so that then he can be like David and become a king. Her ultimate goal was that he would be a king. So start with the prophethood and then go to kingship. Okay. And so, and Waraqa bin Nawfal apparently was in on this scheme, to where when she brought him, she said, "Oh, let's go to the priest." Waraqa bin Nawfal. So they took him to Waraqa bin Nawfal, and he said, "Oh, yes, that's the one who came to Moses. You're a prophet. You're a prophet. Yes, absolutely. That's, and he was a heretic too. He was a heretic too, and so he wasn't a real Christian, and you can see that they were like Buhaira, okay, like Buhaira, because Buhaira also was wanting to shape Mohammed to carry on his religion. So you got both of these influences, kind of Christian heretics who are influencing Muhammad. Okay. And so that's why you have all these Christian stories in the Quran, because of this guy. Okay. And so anyway, let's go ahead and read the rest of this here. Okay. Waraqa bin Nawfal. Okay. Okay. Aisha. Okay. And when he told him, Waraqa said, "That is the same angel Allah sent to the prophet Moses." See, it's like he already had this planned, what he was going to say. "Should I live till you receive the divine message, I will support you strongly." Because he was old, he was about ready to die, and so he was saying, if I survive, I'm going to support you strongly. But he wasn't going to survive for very long. Okay, so let me see. I need to go back. Shoot. Okay, let's go back this way. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little bit of issues here with my computer. Okay. He told him, Waraqa said, that is the same. Okay. Khadija then accompanied him to her cousin. Okay, this is again kind of telling the same story again, but let's go ahead and read it. Khadija then accompanied him to her cousin Waraqa bin Nawfal bin As'ad bin Abd al-Uzza, who during the pre-Islamic period became a Christian and used to write the writing with Arabic letters. So he used to write the Gospel of Matthew. That's one thing, the Ebionites. The Ebionites, there are some people who say that the Ebionites, there actually were Jews. They're actually Jewish believers who believed in the Gospel of Matthew. It's a really confusing situation, but Khadija and Waraqa bin Nawfal were both Ebionites. Okay, and so there is a connection to the Jews, and to Christianity. So okay. Writing the Arabic letters, he would write. Okay. Okay. From Moses, I wish I were young. Okay, this is another, again, telling kind of the same thing, but just a little bit different way of saying it. I wish I were young. So he said this to Muhammad. Okay, it's the one who came to Moses, the angel Gabriel. I wish I was young and could live up to the time when your people would turn you out. So he's saying to Muhammad, you're going to be rejected. God's apostle said, will they drive me out? Waraqa replied in the affirmative and said, any man who came with something similar to what you have brought was treated with hostility with what you have brought. What did he bring? What did he bring? He brought a verse that says, in the name of the Lord who created humans from a blood clot. That's all he had. With what you brought. What did he bring? This verse says, in the name of your Lord who created humans from a blood clot. That was all he had. That was, he says to him, what you have brought. What did he bring? He didn't bring nothing. He says, except this verse, that in the name of your Lord who created a human from a blood clot. That's what he brought. He says, anyone who brings something like that amazing wisdom, people turn him out. So, okay, will be treated with hostility. And if I should remain alive till the day when you will be turned out, then I will support you strongly. But after a few days, Waraqa died. So Waraqa didn't really survive that long to influence Muhammad that much. But he was such so instrumental. He was very, okay, let's read this. Okay, I don't want to get there yet. Khadija told Muhammad that Waraqa believed in you, but died before your advent. Muhammad added, I saw him in a dream, and upon him were white garments. If he were of the inhabitants of the fire, then he would have been wearing something else. So, okay. So, let me see. One thing that I did not put here is when Waraqa bin Nawfal died, what happened to Muhammad? Because what it says happened is that the inspiration stopped. The inspiration, the visitations supposedly stopped. The Arabic that Waraqa speaks, please. Oh, can you? I'm sure the English. Was the Arabic there? In what? I don't think it was there. In. You're saying about. Okay, let me just go see if I can find that in the Hadith, Sunnah.com. Waraqa. Okay. Okay. In Arabic, here is the Hadith about okay. It says the Prophet returned to Khadija. His heart was beating rapidly. She took him to Waraqa bin Nawfal, who was a Christian convert. Okay. You see in Arabic how it says it. Okay. قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها فرجع النبي إلى خديجة يرجف. He returned to Khadija. He was shaking. فواده فانطلقت به إلى ورقة بن نوفل. Okay, so she went with him to see Waraqa bin Nawfal. وكان رجل تنصر بكرا بكرة الإنجيل بالعربية. Okay, he's a man who became a Christian. Tanassar. Okay, now that's the word. That's that when it says tanassar, and they still use this word when a Muslim becomes a Christian. They say tanassar. He became a Christian. Mutanassar. He becomes a, because in Islam, when they talk about Christians, they don't say that the word Masihi, which is the correct word. The correct way to say Christian, they say Nasara, okay, which has a relationship to Nazareth, okay, and so they're saying about him, Tanassar, meaning he became a Christian, okay. Yikra al-Injil bil-Arabiyya. He was reading the gospel in Arabic. Now, you guys, that's interesting to me. The reason that's interesting to me is because I've heard people say there was no Arabic gospel at that time. I've heard them say there was no Arabic gospel at that time. But here it's saying that he was reading the gospel in Arabic. In fact, I've heard somebody say that the reason there was Islam is the fault of the Christians because they had not translated the gospel into Arabic yet, to where this fake book came. Satan moved in and came up with this fake book, instead because there was no Arabic Bible. But here it's saying that that Waraqa bin Nawfal was reading the gospel in Arabic. That's exactly what it says. رجل تنصر بكرة الإنجيل بالعربية. He's reading the gospel in Arabic. الإنجيل يا رب. You guys, you know, this right here, it really tells you something because, you know, they say, oh, we don't have the real Injil, and they didn't have it, you know, but he had it. He was reading it according to this hadith. Wow. Thank you for asking me to read this, Andrew. I'm not sure I'm finding the stuff that you were asking about, but I did find some other stuff that's very, very useful. So I'm going to keep this. You learn something new every time that you can use to preach the gospel. You know, I don't really. Okay. Waraqa read the gospel in Arabic, meaning it existed in most time, save. So there you go. Dang, that's really good. Good information that you could use to witness to Muslims, you know, because they're always going to say, oh, where's the gospel? What's the gospel? I don't know if you saw when God Logic was talking to Hamza and his group when they were on God Logic channel, and they had, you know, God Logic had to keep asking, what is the gospel? Do you know what the gospel is? And they couldn't define it because they got to be so careful. They're not going to say something that goes against, you know, what their preconceived notions. But here it's saying that Waraqa bin Nawfal was reading the gospel in Arabic. That's very important. So, فقال ورقة ماذا ترى؟ فأخبره. So Waraqa said to Muhammad, what did you see? What do you see? Now that's kind of interesting. He didn't say, what did you see? He says, what do you see? And remember Khadija, when she did the lap dance, that she said, do you see your friend? I mean, this thing was probably, Muhammad was looking at that thing. That thing was weird. Okay. فأخبره, he told him. فقال ورقة هذا الناموس الذي أنزل الله على موسى. Now this is interesting. This is a namus. The word namus the word namus, it's kind of strange because the word namus is like the law of Moses. Namus means the law of Moses. But here they translated it's an angel. Okay, Waraqa said this is the same angel who appeared to Moses. Well, Namus is, okay. In adrakani yomak ansurak nasr. Namus, yeah.
You know what it is?
What? In Arabic, Namus is the law of Moses. You know, and Namus, you know, and so that's what's written there. And but
Farsi means honor for the family.
oh,
Like if something happens and they say this person has no knowledge.
Oh.
He has no honor for
honor. Okay, it means honor also in Persian. So quite often. Adrakani yoma. Okay, he's saying essentially the same thing there. الناموس صاحب السر الذي يطلع بما يستر عن غيره. Now it's the same word, الناموس. It's used twice there. And namus, the second time it's used, it is used like the law, talking about the law. But the first time, says this is the law that came down to Moses, that Allah sent down to Moses. Very interesting. You know what? Father Zechariah warned me. He says, don't try to make sense of Islamic writings. And so, but there was a very good piece of information there, and that is that Waraqa Bin Nawfal had the Bible in Arabic. That's very good. Namuz, the Gnostic concept, Namuz. Oh, now Andrew Martin knows quite a bit. Namuz often means virtue. Okay, that was my wife was saying that. It means virtue and honor. It's commonly used in the context of family and social relation. Okay, so it was a Gnostic concept. Very interesting. Thank you for kind of pointing that out for us. That's great. So anyway, guys, there's one more. He did die. Waraqa bin Nawfal did die. And when he died, let me see if I could find. This is the last thing I want to tell you. Waraqa. Okay. I want to show you one last story about Waraqa bin Nawfal. Okay. Okay. I wanted to show you this last thing, which is very interesting about Waraqa bin Nawfal. When he died, he definitely not the Bible, definitely not the biblical Gabriel, of course not. Okay, let's read this together here about what happened after he died. It says, but after a few days, Waraqa died, and the divine inspiration was also paused for a while. Okay, so what an interesting situation that the messages stopped coming to Muhammad when Waraqa died. You guys, I don't believe Waraqa was a Christian. He was a heretic, possibly working with demonic spirits, because he knew how to. It was as if it looks like it was planned. This looks like it was planned, to entrap Muhammad, it literally says, the word in Arabic, stanfar, it's the word, the word that they used for what Khadija wanted to do with Muhammad. It's the word that, when you have a pipe and you put grooves in it at the end of the pipe so that you could, put two pipes together, and you put the grooves in the one pipe so that it'll fit with the next pipe. It's the grooves. That's the word that's used for what Khadija was doing to Muhammad. I mean, trying to shape him and form him into this king prophet. Okay, and so Waraqa bin Nawfal was in on this, and so he was very much, encouraging Muhammad and everything. But it says, but after a few days, Waraqa died, and the divine inspiration was also paused for a while. And the prophet became so sad, as we have heard, and he intended several times to throw himself from the tops of high mountains. Several times, you guys. Several times he wanted to throw. What do you say about someone who tries to commit suicide several times? What do you call a person like that? There's 3 suicides in the Bible. There's Samson, Saul, and Judas. In each case, there was some kind of demonic encounter before. Samson was in the temple of Dagon. Saul went to the witch of Endor. Judas, it says that he took the sop and Satan entered into him. So there's always a satanic encounter in the Bible before a suicide. And Mohammed had just been visited by that thing. And so now he wants to go throw himself off the mountains. So, okay. The prophet became so sad, as we have heard, that he intended several times to throw himself from the tops of high mountains. High mountain. So it wasn't just one mountain. He didn't just go to one cliff and try to throw him. He went to several mountains and tried to throw himself off, according to this. And every time he went up to the top of a mountain, in order to throw himself down, Gabriel would appear and say, Muhammad, you are Allah's apostle, whereupon his heart would become quiet and he would calm down and would return home. And whenever the period of the coming of the spirit inspiration used to become too long, he would do as before. He would go throw himself off a mountain to try to throw. He would do as before and used to reach the top of the mountain. Every time that thing didn't come to him, he would go to throw himself off of a mountain. You guys, what does it say about this guy? What does it say about him? What do you say about someone who constantly tries to commit suicide? Yeah, just mental illness repeatedly. Several times he tried to kill himself. It says, truth defender, deeply troubled. It's a mental illness, mental illness. So several times he tried to kill himself, according to this hadith. That tells you that thing that came to him was a demon. Okay? It tells you that was a demon, because demonic encounters lead to this type of behavior. So, all right, you guys. Well, I just wanted to come on and psychosis. Thank you. That's the word right there. Suffering from physical psychosis, inspired by the devil. Thank you, Mr. Decker. That's the word that was the word I was looking for. Tormented by a demon. He needed Prozac, yeah. Yes. So, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, it's late here, so I think we're going to go ahead and call it. Draw your sword and kill me. It is true. Houston has said that, but the night before this happened, he went to the witch of Endor, and so he went to a witch the night before that happened. So, yep. All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you for hanging out with us a little while. If you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Oh, this is okay. Okay. Thank you, Houston. So there was actually 4 suicides. Abimelech. Thank you for. So Houston showed us let me go ahead and put that up here so you guys see that. This is Judges 9:54. They came quickly to the young man, his armor bearer, and said to him, "Draw your sword and kill me, lest they say of me, a woman killed him." Okay. But there was also Saul, because Saul went to the witch of Endor, and then the next day he also fell on his sword, but he didn't die. So he told the guy to kill him. So, okay, yeah, Saul was not in Judges. Yeah, Saul was in First Kings, Second Kings. Yeah, it was both of them did that. Yes. All right. Well, there we go. You got 4 actually. So I knew 3, but now there's 4. So, and I'm a little reluctant to say that what Samson did was a suicide, because I'm a little reluctant because he prayed and said, "Lord, avenge me of my enemies. Let me die with my enemies." So I'm not sure. So anyway, thank you guys for being with us. If you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. يسوع ساعدني. يسوع سامحني. يسوع ادخل قلبي. We love you, but more importantly, he loves you. Thank you for hanging out with us a little bit. God bless you guys.
If you have ever wondered why dull apologists lie so much, it's because on a rare occasion that they tell the truth, this happens.
One of the reasons I accepted Islam was the scientific miracles. I'll be honest with you. And now we know that this whole scientific miracles was absolute nonsense.
You're going to have to...
That the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.